but we're here. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Board Game Design Variety Hour. I'm your host Matthew Dudson, and for the first time ever, I have a guest, the most wonderful, excellent, incredible Théo Riviere. Teresi just went woohoo in the background for Théo. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Thank you very much, Théo, for being part. I'll just hey Rob, how you going? Welcome. I will pretend to be, as I say, trying to be professional and tell people this is happening, so I'll send out a tweet. But I think, and Théo being the very busy and successful game designer that he is, has publishers breaking down his door at this moment, and he has to just fend them off with emails and things like that. Hey Mandel, how you going? Yes, Rob. This is the first time I'm doing this, having a guest on stream, and it's completely thrown out my normal way of preparing for a stream in a good way. But yeah, so I kind of forgot about that whole countdown thing. But anyway, I'm glad everyone is here, and so today we're going to be chatting about game design and all those kind of great things. Why have I got?
Let me just retweet you to bring all the French communities to be speaking badly English on the chat box.
Maybe I should call it something else than this. Let's say we're chatting, something like that. Okay.
Peek.
Hi, Petro Eric. Welcome to the stream. Thanks very much for dropping by. You could all say if Théo brought you here. We were chatting before. I'm just hoping to. The only reason I invited Théo was just to take all his followers, essentially. Him being a much more prominent and famous board game streaming personality now. Have you adjusted to your? Have you been recognized on the street, or I guess if you put a mask over your beard, maybe it's a bit hard to tell.
Right now, we don't have something truly like the street, so not that much. But I know that some people that are watching me on Twitch in the morning are from Brussels, actually. So we discuss about organizing a live meetup when everything will be safer, and when it will be alright to go on a pub and to drink all together. So right now, no one asked me on the street, "Hey, are you Théo Riviere? I saw you on Twitch." But to be perfectly honest, it happens to me twice prior to Twitch.
I see. I was famous before I started streaming, baby.
Don't you ever someone ask you on the street, "Hey, are you Matthew Dunstan, the game designer?"
No.
Never ever?
No.
That's a shame. My first time was like on a perfect context, because it was on a comics fair in Angoulême in France. So because comics fan and board games fan are mutual in a way, and suddenly someone told me on my back, "Oh, I was expecting to see some comics designers, comics authors, but not some board game designer." I was like, "Oh, what? Oh," and it was a random guy who liked comics and board games. So.
I mean, your backpack wasn't made of covers of your games or something. That wasn't. You weren't a walking advertisement or something.
I have something with two pointy neon arrows saying, "I'm a board game designer. Please ask me something."
Yeah, free. We'll give you a hug for a game design or something. Combine the. Anyway, I realized that we've just Théo and I know each other. We've worked together for a while. I've slept on in the room where Théo is streaming from right now several times.
That's true.
Not while Théo was streaming, of course. That would be a little bit strange. And we've just lapsed into, because for me, having Théo on is just a nice excuse to chat. But I realized that there might be people in the chat who don't know who you are. So maybe if you want to give a quick introduction as to you as a person.
Yeah, I can do something like that. So apart being trying to Twitch and to stream sometimes talking about game design, I'm a full-time game designer for 3 years now. Prior to that, I was working with games publisher, Yellow for 2 years, and We Post Production for 2 years too. Then I left to be on my own and also to start a board games council agency in a way. So we are called Team Kaedama. I co-start the company with Antoine Boza, Ludovic Maublanc, and Corentin Lebras. And we are giving like feedbacks to game publishers and also doing games on demand. So if a publisher got an IP or component or something that they want us to make a game with, sometimes they ask us, and we are trying to do our best to provide them with a great game. As a game designer, I think my most famous game for an English-speaking audience might be Draftosaurus, no? Oh, nice. Our beautiful
try to be, this is Kaidama. So
yeah,
I guess you call yourselves like a board game, almost consultant agency or something like that. Yeah, I mean, you say consulting there, agency. Yeah. Sorry, but you keep going.
No. It's great. Oh, hi. Emerishi is one of my fellow followers. So.
Oh, hi, Emerishi. Well, thanks very much for coming by. And hi, Brad. Nice to see you. I should say that to Eddie, no, I think everything's fine. And so, you've got work with Kaidama and also your own independent sort of stuff going on as well.
Still trying to design games and to publish them like as a classic game designer in a way. One thing that I'm doing a lot is co-designing, obviously with you because we are not obviously, but with you because we are talking right now and we co-design some games, but also with a lot of different person, and that's something that I'm truly into. I don't design a lot of games just on myself. Most of the time when I start something, I'm like, okay, I need to show it to this person with this person to work with them, because that's one part of the job that I like the most.
Yeah, no, I'm very much the same. I think it was a pretty natural way for us to want to work together. Hi, Crunchyarty. Thanks very much for coming by. I mean, it's actually, and we met quite a while ago when you were still working for Yellow. I mean, you just want to get away from me because Théo just keeps leaving companies as soon as I sign games with those companies. I sign a game with Yellow, Théo leaves. I sign a game with Repost, Théo leaves, and then I had to track him down and just make a game together. So
it was a curse that we get rid of. No, we can work together like freely and being. I mean, co-designing something.
The curse won't be lifted until the game is actually published. Though, we're not there yet. I guess so. We've got to be. We shouldn't say too much. Oh, no worries, Emerishi. I will. I have to admit, you're following, I'm sure, much better than when I watched Théo's stream, and now also, like, it used to be easier with Théo because there were fewer comments that I could keep up with, but now it's just this explosion of comments over on Théo's streams, and I'm furiously trying to Google Translate to go along the way. We have a first question, so I guess we'll intersperse like kind of questions and chat, and we have a few things that we might chat about, but I think we're both pretty relaxed, and it's Friday. I should have had like we should have both had like a beverage. I'm not sure. It's not the end of your working day yet, is it? Technically. I mean, so that's got whiskey in it. Is that what you're telling me?
No. I've got some tea in honor to be with you. Mostly I'm drinking coffee, but I was like, I'm going to be with Matthew, so I need to drink some tea to be like as fancy as you are.
Oh, okay. So, well, yeah. I actually don't have tea this time. This is like my first stream without tea, because I was a bit disorganized. But yeah, hi, I'm Amara. Thanks very much. Yeah, thank you all of the Francophone people dropping by. Hopefully it's understandable. But yeah, if there's a point you missed, really don't feel free to just ask in the chat, and we'll make it clear. Hopefully. So the first question was, what was it like making an unlock game? Because you have done that twice now. Is it 2 scenarios you've done?
Only once. I'm still trying to maybe having another one being published, but not right now. Nothing signed and nothing being published on an Xbox. I think the main thing it might be harder to work on an unlock games than working on like a traditional game design. Mostly because if you fail, it's a complete failure. In a way of, if we are co-designing a game or if I'm designing something, and in my mind I'm like, okay, I want to sign this game with Space Cowboys, and I show it to the Space Cowboys, and they're like, oh, sorry, we don't want to publish it. it's always possible for me to bring it to another publisher, being like, okay, maybe I designed this game. Maybe do you want to publish it? But if the Space Cowboys are saying no to your unlock scenario, you can't use it to make anything else. And because that's a long work to do, mostly because graphic design is very, very important. And in order to have something to playtest, you need to do a lot of graphic design. So it's hard for this kind of stuff. But in the other end, and I don't know, Matthew, how you're thinking about this kind of thing, but it was a good thing for me and for us, because I did my scenario with Gabriel and Guylaine, to work on something already in a shape. And it was like, okay, we know, and we played, I love Unlock, so we played all the scenarios prior to working on our own. And it was like, okay, we know what we like on Unlock and we know what we don't like. We know how most scenarios are working. How can we try to break a little bit the main structure to propose something that will taste like us? So it was truly great to have a frame to work on it. But it was also hard because, a no was like a different no than a no for a classic game design.
Yeah, it's a bigger risk, isn't it? Really, that you feel like you might have just the one you're working on right now. What's your kind of confidence levels, sort of thing? How are you? You just throw it to the wind.
No, it's hard because I know that the Space Cowboys are like having a lot of proposition, because Unlock is a great game, and a lot of person are like, oh, I love this game, let's try to make a scenario. We know for sure that, just like game designing in general, no, because we have published one, it might be easier for us to have another one being published, because we know them, they know us, and the contact is already linked. I will say something like 60 to 70% if I have to come with with an average percentage. So we'll see. And it also depends of do they already have something that will like being perfectly in concurrence with our scenario. Can he fit on the next box, or maybe it's going to be on the next box? I hope that it's going to be okay, but we'll see.
Well, fingers crossed. So I should say thank you very much, Mr. Quantum V. Thanks very much for the follow. I'm sure we'll chat about streaming at some point later, but I am still technologically incapable of hooking up automatic notifications for things. So if anyone does something I miss it, I will try and check up as I go. And again, thanks everyone for dropping by. I assume from Théo streams. I think it's. I haven't really had that. I mean, I have the thing of making narrative games now, new scenarios, but for things that I've sort of created, and it's not in that case of Unlock where anybody can submit things. It's if I don't do it, then nobody does it, so it doesn't have that same kind of risk of not liking it. And I do also remember a conversation with Space Cowboys about like just a kind of not exactly competitiveness, but the fact that they are getting a lot of submissions, and it's hard to. You just don't know for certain how it's going to kind of work out, I guess.
And is it something that you have in mind for your adventure game at some point, opening like the game system to have new scenario? Because I think that's something that I love Unlock and I love Exit. I think that's my two favorite escape room games being published right now. But at the beginning, as was like on the same level, and now I think I like Unlock a little bit more, mostly because even if Inka and Marcus Brand are like amazing game designer, know that they have done something like 15 boxes, it starts to feel a little bit like the same box each time. And I think that at some point, if they open the game system to other designers, and I'm not thinking of me at all, I'm thinking about all game designers, it could be a little bit better, because we could have something like, someone will try to bend the rules or to present a new way of thinking about Exit. Your adventure games you've done something like 3 or 4 boxes, right?
The 5th one's about to be released, and we're just finishing the 6th one. But I mean, actually, the 3rd one wasn't really written by Phil and I. It was written internally by our main editor at Cosmos. And the fifth one that's about to be released, they got a famous German fantasy author, I think, or a sci-fi author, a writer to actually, he did most of the scenario actually, and we didn't really have anything to do with it. So yeah, already they are looking at it. And I agree with you that you need that. For the adventure games, is absolutely true. You need, especially with telling interesting stories, like the stories are so important. Like you can't, and it's actually a lot longer than Unlock, right? You know, like I don't know that we have like I don't know how many thousand. You know, it's like at least 30,000 words or something. You know, in these books, you know, that you're writing. So yeah, you really need. And I'm not a very good storyteller, so I'm glad that they're kind of involving other people, and I think that that's the hope going forward to do that. So yeah, I agree with you. I think it definitely puts a lot of freshness back into the system, which is really great. Yeah, but I'm just trying to follow Chad's. I'm not look. There, as I say, you know, I'm not a professional streamer. I normally only have to handle about, you know, a few comments every couple of minutes. So I'll try and follow it as best I can. Brad asks, when we design together, do we fall into different roles? Do you want to take that first there? What do you think?
That's a good question. I don't think that we fall into different roles, but we definitely give some things to do to the other and then come back, just like going back and forth. Most of the time, I'm doing graphic design because I'm like picky on this subject. I'm like,
I can't stop you doing it.
Don't worry. I'm gonna spend 10 hours designing these card games that maybe is not working because I want it to be pretty prior to do the first test. So most of the time I'm undoing this part. But I'm not sure that we have different roles. How do you feel about it, Matt?
No, I don't think so. I think we're not. I actually think our tastes and even our style of designing is actually fairly similar. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but I think we have similar influences as designers. I think we like similar types of games. So yeah, I don't feel like we have some sort of different take on things. But yeah, you're right. I think in terms of like prototype construction, you're quite a bit farther along in terms of, and I think that's a little bit. I guess I've been lucky to work with another, like with Brett Gilbert is the main person I collaborate with. He's also much better on the sort of graphical side than prototype side. So maybe like that muscle hasn't been exercised on my side very long. So I'm not exactly like, no, Theo, don't do that. I wanted, you know, I'm quite happy to, yeah, Theo, that's fine. You know, spend 10 hours on the graphical side. That'll be great. You know? But I think it works pretty well. I mean, we haven't, to this point, we've finished, I guess, about 3 games, probably fair to say, like that are signed, I guess, and 1 or 2 that were maybe a little bit further on, but we didn't quite crack them for whatever reason. And I guess, I mean, now is as much time as any, but we're also kind of using the stream to, I guess it's announcing. I mean, I'm not sure if you've chatted about it on your stream, and we could chat about the vagaries of, if we start talking about publishers, then we'll just, you know, go into some horror, but because the publisher hasn't really announced it, but has announced it because it's available in a distribution manual, and they're happy for us to talk about it. So we have a new game, our first co-design that will be released, which is going to be called Around the World. It's a children's game with Jekko, just the cover up here, and the kind of components. I'll take the banner off so people can see it a bit better. Yeah, how would you describe the game, Theo? What do you think?
On a journey around the world, I think you'll visit one. No, it's a very cute and easy to access game for children when you learn about action points. If I have to talk with people who are familiar with board games, it's like my first action point game.
We should have called it that.
Main thing, yeah, it could be the nice tagline like on the cover. The main idea is it's a race. You try to go on different cities on this small map, sending nice, and they are very, very nice. We haven't got like truly the game on our end yet, but the postcard looks very, very nice from what I can see. And so the main the goal of the game is to send your postcards, to be the first to send all your postcards to your friends all around the world. Now you're playing pandas, which was not the case on our prototypes, and we discover it like at the end, but which is perfectly okay. And on your turn, you just roll the dice to see how many actions that you can do on this turn. That will be 1, 2, or 3. One action will be move from one city to one other with your pawn. One other action will be calling one vehicle, which is a train, a plane, and a boat on the spot where you are. And the last action will be using this typical vehicle, which are like the best way to go as quick as possible from one city to another. So if you use the train, you can go from the bottom of this island to the top if you want. Using a boat allows you to go from one coastal city to another. And if you use the plane, you can go from one airport to any other airport. You can see the small line of flying. And so you go from cities to cities. If you end your turn on a city while having this exact postcards on your end, you just lay it on the table and it's 1 victory points. And the first to have 4, 5 victory points. I don't quite remember.
I don't quite remember either, actually. I was just thinking.
He is or she's the winner. So very easy to understand, very easy to play. The main thing is, and that's what we have in mind. If I remember correctly, it was your first idea, Matthew, to come with, okay, we need a game with a vehicle, and you can use this vehicle to go all around the world. And so that's truly one of the strengths of the game is it's very cute, and you can use your panda and your small plane to go and to go to another city, which is like a very nice thing to do, I think.
Yeah,
especially if you're 5 years old.
I always had the idea of that you would have those sort of like almost that you have like Lego Duplo or something, those sort of carriages that you can put your person in and actually move. And of course, I haven't quite done that in the end. I actually just noticed that they're all blue for some reason. But anyway, that's the things you find out. But yeah, I guess it kind of it stayed pretty true to that through. I mean, and actually, I would say the development process was pretty rapid. I think it's one of those cases where you, well, Theo obviously doesn't believe the game. He just needed to. Oh man. I should say also thanks everyone for the really nice comments about the game. Oh, I know what Theo's probably doing. Theo's probably trying to find some early prototyping. Yeah, because as we were talking about, Theo with the great prototyping had the original kind of pieces. We had some cool little vehicles that you could use to go around, and yeah, it was really cute. Were you successful or no? Just now it's going to go through all the now shall we go for the tour through Theo's prototype drawers? We can see what's going on there. Robert has a question. When playtesting a children's game, do you try to use children? In playtest groups, I've played children's games. Oh, here we go. Whoops, I'll try and put you.
Yeah, I got them.
Oh, no, I've just cut you out. Hold on. Oh, yeah, you go. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. That's where I remember those. Oh, that's cute. That's cute. I
don't have the original prototype back on my shelf. I think we give it to Jeko and they might still have it. So I don't have any box to show to the people. I don't know where I would. Yeah, actually, I had a quick look, but I couldn't find anything either. Yeah, Robert asked about do we sort of play test with children? I didn't. I don't know if did you play test the game with children there? No. I mean, that's maybe actually as a bit of a broad question. So Théo actually was, for those who don't know, was 2 of your games were nominated for the Children's Game of the Year in France this year, the Asdor. And I see one of them behind you. In fact, 2 of them behind you, I think, Maison Charlie, and Detective Charlie and Maison. No, I'm getting that wrong, aren't I? Sorry, okay. I mean, do you want to chat a little about, like, do you play test with children when you're developing these games? How do you go about sort of developing a game for children? Because I think that was one of the reasons I wanted to work with you on this game, was because you had that experience designing children's game, which I didn't. Most of the time, I don't. Mostly because I don't have any children myself, and most of the time it's not that easy to bring some children to playtest. At least not as easy as bringing some adult to playtest your games. I still playtest the game, and I'm trying to be on the mindset of playing it just like if I was a child myself, which is something that I don't know if I'm quite successful at it, but I think I know a little bit more about what you can do and what you can't do while designing a children games. And I know for sure, which is something which is truly important, that prior to sign a games for children, all the children publishers are playing it with the children into the target. So that's also a thing which is like allow me to be comfortable with it. It's like, okay, maybe I will not play with a 5-year-old prior to show the game to the publisher, but I know for sure that the game will be played with 5 years old prior to be released, which is something that like essential. Otherwise, I would be like, okay, are you sure that a child could play my games prior to buying it? But most of the time, I think it's just a matter of being on the right mindset and being sure that you are thinking about what can and what can't a child do about a game. So most of the time, it's just about it.
Alex sort of asked, like, do those kind of formalize like rules in your head? Do you have a sense of like, oh, mechanic XYZ, you can't have that in a game, or if it's for 6 years old, it could be this, or do you kind of have that set out, or is it intuition?
I think it's a little bit of both. For sure that things like children are very good with memory, and it's great when you have a game which is possible for a child to beat their parents to. So if you put a lot of memory into a game, and that's why we saw a lot of child games with a lot of memory aspect, they can beat you, and so it's better. If it's a co-op games, it have to be not that hard, and I think it's better to go for co-op for 3 or 4 or 5 years old children, because losing is still something that you try to learn. So in a case of a game which is competitive, you have to keep in mind that it's better if no one's being crushed by the game. Like if we are playing with a 5 years old, and I can go, oh, I'm destroying all your small strategy because I don't like you, it's gonna be like a big deal. So let's try not to do like thing like that. And there's also a little bit some game mechanics that we know that children are not very good with. Typically having a big amount of different choices. So I will not design a game with cards with an end of something like 5 different cards, and as a child you have to pick one to play because it's going to be too much. We know that children are not very good with push your luck. That's also something that you can try to bring a small aspect, but being like full about a push your luck will not be very easy to play with children, because they will always push their luck. Bluffing is also something that you cannot truly put on a children game, because at this kind of age they don't know how to bluff at all, so it's not going to be good. So just like designing games for grown-up, a good way to have in mind what is possible and what is not possible is to play a lot of children games. I think that's also something that I'm trying to do a lot. Like just like for family and expert games, I'm trying to being aware of what's on the market, what was the big success, what was nominated for Kinderspiel or Asdor, stuff like that, to know which games are working and which games are not working, to have them in mind when I'm trying to design a new one.
And what do you think about the there's 2 games that were recently nominated? Like, what about those games do you think has made them successful? Is there something you can kind of point to and think like, oh, this brought something new for kids games, or I especially got something right here, or what do you think?
I think for Detective Charlie, but it was the kind of game when I showed it to publisher. So to quickly talk about it, it's
definitely, let us know.
It's like my first Sherlock Holmes game for children. So it's a co-op scenario based. mystery game for children when you are playing people with Charlie Cat, which is like this small detective going to mystery town and trying to resolve 6 cases. So the main thing is it's not replayable, but we choose to sacrifice the replayability in order to have something with like great stories to tell to the children. Of course, all different cases are like very, very cute and more small things that there is no murderer or even no real bad guys in Detective Charlie. So the first case is who paint the beach pink, and so we have to discover how and why the beach is no pink. I think one thing that makes the game successful was the fact that it was the first, or at least the first that I know, game about like resolving some cases for children this age. So maybe that's something that make a box bottom in English. It's gonna be way better explained that my explanation in English.
No, I think you did a good job.
But yeah, I think this kind of game, but to play with children is not something that we have a lot on the market right now. So I think that brings something. And also with Loki, which is the publisher, and Piper Thibodeau, which is the game artist, and she did an amazing job with all the different characters. We try to have like truly this small town with like all these inhabitants, all being cute, all having this small job and having like a small life on its own. And I know for sure because most of the people that gives me feedback was into it were like, oh, I like seeing all these different people being like alive in this small city, and we try to keep it like as true as possible. If you resolve the first case and then go to case number 6, there will be some small hint about, oh, do you remember when blah 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 did blah blah blah? Yeah, I can remember because I played it. So we try to have something a little bit like that.
And so that kind of novelty really helped, you think, was the main thing of like you just sort of breaking open a new genre for children, essentially.
I think so. And again, I don't want to seem like I'm bragging, because maybe there is another game like that I never heard about, but I don't think so. So yeah, it's always a matter of bringing something fresh to the market can give you a little bit of the spotlight, at least for a small amount of time. And I think it was the case for Detective Charlie.
Yeah, definitely. It's beautifully produced, so I think that also helps. And what about Maison des Souris, or if I'm butchering the French?
La Maison des Souris. You can, if you want to check on BBG, I think the English box is called Pick a Mouse, just like Peekaboo, but with mouse instead of boo. Which is also a game with some fresh and maybe unique element in a way. It's also a game where I got like a very, very lucky with Gigamic, the publisher. So they did like an amazing job on producing this game that we were like almost certain that it would be not possible to publish when we pitch it. With Elodie, which is my code designer on this one, because that's a game that uses light and a 3D box in order to be played. So that's also a co-op game. The main idea is you are playing a small family. We can say that you are playing yourself in a way, and you just discover that all the small objects that disappears from your house at some point have been stolen by a family of mouse, which are like living on your attic on their very, 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 very tiny house, and so you have to take a look into the house of the mouse to see which object they stole you, and where not why, but where are they on their house. So the main mechanism is what you can see on your screen is the game box. You take small token and put all of them from the chimney, hole, the fireplace hole.
The fireplace.
The fireplace
hole.
Oh,
the chimney. You would probably say chimney, maybe.
Chimney.
Yeah.
And they will go into the house, and then you put back the lid, and so you have a small house, but closed. And then you shuffle the box, and you put back the chimney. How do you say? You say it way better
chimney.
Than chimney.
Yeah.
That's tricky because in French it's cheminée, so that's almost the same word, but not that much. So you put it back on the top of the box and click on it, and that's a lighter, not a lighter, a lamp. And so you'll have some light coming from the ceiling for exactly 30 seconds. And during this time, you can look using the small window on the box. And you will go like that and trying to see something, but it's not like very lighty because it's a small power source. And you have only 40 seconds to look at everything all together. And then at some point, the lights just go out and you have to answer some question. Is the button on the kitchen? Yes, no, maybe. We have to be sure that we have seen it or not. Is the lollipop with the Lego pieces? What are the different pieces which are on the bedroom and stuff like that? And then you answer. If you're correct, you win some points. If not, it happens. It's okay. And you play 4 rounds, and at the end of the rounds, that's a beat your own score. So you see from something like, oh, maybe I've got 16 victory points, which is like, oh, you're amazing. Or maybe we didn't succeed that much. And the game we told us something like, oh, you're good, but maybe you'll be better next time.
Yeah, I mean, I did. Yeah, I think I didn't realize the light aspect of it, but it looks like super cool to kind of use the boxes thing. I should say also, welcome to Le Bon Pioche. You could tell me how I should say that. And thanks very much, Mr. Quatermain.
I think yeah, I know my my follower by their real name now. So hello Ludo, hello Doreen. How you're doing?
Well, thanks very much for dropping by. And I mean, how was it like pitching a game with like an electronic component in it? I mean, did you just kind of trust it was going to, as you said, like you weren't really sure if it would ever get published? I mean, was it hard to kind of work that out in terms of producing it?
The first thing was to, I think prior to showing to publisher, we check if there were other games using this light aspect, and we saw some games not played the same way, but also using like a small light power source being published by ABBA. So we are like, okay, no, we know that at least it's possible. We don't know if it's gonna fit a publisher, but we know it's possible to show it to someone. And then I must say that we had like we get quite lucky because Gigamic was the first publisher that we show the prototypes to, and they were like pretty excited about it, and they very, very quickly start to ask factories about, oh, is it possible to do something like that? What do you think about it? And at this point, Delphine, which was our editor for this project, just joined Gigamic, and for a small amount of time, the only project that she was working on was La Maison des Souris. So she spent a crazy amount of time being sure that everything will fit on a box, that this box could be something around 30 euros, that everything will be easy to play, everything will fit the thermoformage, the plastic tray. And so we had like an amount of precision on the product design itself, which was like crazy. And prior to that, just after sending like some email to factories, they quickly told us, okay, it's okay, we can produce this game, so no, we can sign the contract. But prior to this email, we had like a conversation about, okay, maybe we want to do this game, but first we have to be sure that it's possible for us to produce it, and not something like at 50 euros, because that's still a small children game, so it's not possible to have like something that expensive. So definitely was something to be concerned about, but at the end, that's something that I used to say to game designer when I was like on the other way, and when people were pitching games to me, as when I was working with Repos on Yellow, and I was like, of course, if you come and show me like a small game that you play for 5 minutes with 100 miniatures and 200 cards, it's gonna be hard for me to say yes. But if you show me something that needs special component, and at the end that's the best game ever, we'll find a way. So don't block yourself being like, oh, maybe I'm putting too much thing on my game. Try to be realistic a little bit, but if you need like a bouncing ball and something flattable, just try to do your game, and you'll see at the end. So,
but I think your point about also looking at other games present in the market and just seeing if it was even done before, because that kind of tells you, A, like it must be financially possible, and B, you know, sometimes there are safety things I guess you don't know about if someone else has managed to manufacture it in the EU as well or something.
Yeah, definitely. And because La Maison des Souris was this kind of children board games with one main concept, prior to showing it to publisher, we had to be sure that this main concept wasn't already existing on another game, because it would be a shame to release something and people being like, oh, it's exactly like this old game being published by ABBA on the 90s that we don't like still remember about it. But when you have very, very small game mechanism together, I think it's always better to look if something very, very close to your main concept isn't out yet. Just not on purpose plagiarize something, but sometimes just having the same ideas but too late.
Yeah, I mean, there's from, is it Cranio or a different Italian company, they have that kind of escape rooms now where you look through the box. I'm not sure if you've seen those, but that was kind of all coming out at the same time. Oh, obviously a very different game otherwise, but
but
it's hard to be truly original.
It was a concern for us because I think we signed the games prior to Cranio releasing. I think it's Mystery House or something like that.
I think.
And when they announced the game and start to show some picture on it online, some friends of us come back and said, "Oh, did you see that?" And we're like, "Oh no, we've been too late. The exact same game has been released by Cranio. Oh no, come on." And at the end, it's two very, 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 very different games. But with the main idea is like similar in a way. It's just like if we had the idea and being like, okay, we don't want to make a children game, we want to do an escape game. I think at the end we will come up with something just like Mystery House. So it was definitely a fear for us to have something being released prior to our game and just being like, oh no, it was too late. And Mystery House was like a little bit scary at some points, but then we play it and we were like, okay, it's okay. Both games can be on the market at the same time. It's not something like to be mad about it.
No, I've definitely had that happen a couple of times with. We have a game, another narrative game that something's been released recently that seemed to be exactly the same. It's the game, Perspective, that was with Repos that I showed you, and then another game's been released that is a little bit similar, but it looks like it's going to be okay. But it's things move quickly, and it can just happen that people have similar ideas without talking to each other. And it's just the way it goes. I've missed a few. I apologize, everyone. I missed questions in the chat, but I'll just quickly go back. A quick question about Unlock. I think this was talking about how does royalty structure work with Unlock scenarios, or like how does that? Because obviously you didn't invent the Unlock system. Can you speak anything about that?
Yeah, it's. I think if I have to think about it exactly, I think the amount of royalty might be a little bit smaller than for a classic game design, because even if I don't think that Cyril Demeg, which is the main, I can say, game designer, the first game designer of Unlock, is working for the Space Cowboy. So I'm not sure that he's having royalties from Unlock, but there's still like his hypothetical part which is removed from the other royalties. And then we have to keep in mind that on Unlock there are 3 scenarios. So a box is also split between these 3 group of designers. And then at the end, because we are 3 on my scenario, it's again split on 3 different parts. But at the end, Unlock are very, very good sales. So that's still, it's not like a golden path, and it's not like exactly the same amount of designing a board games on your own. But because you know that the sales is going to be good, it's still like significant on my global income of last year.
Yeah, no, I have heard from Dave Neal as well, who designed was it in the same box, the Sherlock Holmes one, as your one? I don't know, or maybe not. No,
I don't think
it was the other one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's true that everything kind of gets subdivided, but because the numbers for Unlock are pretty good compared to pretty much any other game you'll tend to publish, that it works out to be not too bad in the end.
Yeah, and Space Cowboys are also like pretty fair about it. I don't exactly remember how many percent that we have at the end, but it was not bad. It was like, okay. It's not like they're not giving you like 0.5% to share with all your co-designer. I don't perfectly remember, but I remember being like not surprised, which is not the right word, but being like, okay, it seems fair. So they're good.
You could say pleasantly surprised. I should say shout out to Amari in the chat. Thanks very much for coming out. We were just streaming with Amari and Michael Fox and Bez last night about streaming, which maybe is an easy way to move into talking about streaming, because
amazing.
I was saying before that Theo's become one of the best known famous board game design streamers. I mean, how have you? So how did you kind of get started in streaming? How's that kind of journey been?
It's mostly because I'm lazy in a way, because it was like. One thing which is very important for me is to talk about game design and to trying to be a good advocate to people and to say, hey, come and design some games. We need more game designers, and game designing is fun and it's not that hard. You are thinking that you can do it, but I think you can do it. So come and join this big family of game designers. And that was always something important for me to be sure to talk about game designing and to answer some questions about it. And my main idea was to start a YouTube channel. And I was like, okay, so each week I will spend like one afternoon filming and editing a video about game designing. And I would be like, oh, you need to know how to design a card and to cut it. Let me show you, and blah, 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 blah. And I tried to do that. I spent like one complete day filming and trying to editing one video, which was perfectly lame and not that good. I was like, okay, I don't know how to do that. I'm not good for like making videos. And if I want to make something that will be as great as I need to be for me to be proud about it, I'm gonna need to spend something like 3 days a week. And even if like I'm a full-time game designer, I'm not like a best-selling game designer, so I still need to work on my games. Otherwise, it will not be possible for me to pay my rent. So I was like, okay, forget about YouTube. You cannot spend 3 days a week like doing your small videos. So too bad, I will not do it. And at some point, I was like, oh, maybe I can try to do it like live on Twitch, because it demands a little bit of preparation, but not that much. And then it will be like, okay, start, let's go. And I can do it. I think I will be comfortable do it. Also because I know that I love to talk and I'm like comfortable talking with people. So it was definitely something that I was sure will be enjoyable, and that I was not sure but pretty comfortable trying to be at least good at it, not maybe not great, but being like not that shy and being okay with it. So I start my Twitch channel, first being like streaming on night mostly, on evening, and being like, oh, let's talk about game design and let's try to do game design live, which was not that easy and not that successful. And at some point, I was like, okay, maybe night is not the best time for me because it was hard for me to set up meeting, and I had some viewers, but not that much. Hey, you know what? Let's try to do this on the morning. So as I start to stream on Tuesday morning from 9 to 11. It was 9 to 10 at the beginning, and people start to come, and it was more enjoyable than I was even thinking about it. And then it was like, okay, maybe I can do it on Tuesday and Thursday. Then I was like, oh, maybe I can do from 9 to 11. And now maybe I'm gonna try again to stream a little bit on evening. So this Sunday, actually, I'm gonna try to stream a little bit more on the evening to try to do other things. And know that, like, I think it's part of my weekly routine, and it's more and more important for me, because it's like, I don't know if you feel like that sometimes, but going to a game show, going to a game fair, and I don't want to seem a little bit too cheesy about it, but seeing more people playing games with people that I don't truly know, showing my games to players from all around the world who want to show it, and just talking with people, it brings me a boost of confidence and of like love in a way, who make me more and more want to design games. And losing everything in 2020 because we don't have any game show and game festival was, it was pretty hard for me. And starting to streaming and meeting all these beautiful people who are okay for talking with me and just like sharing stuff about our same passion about board games. At the end, it's a very, very comfortable thing for me. And it's like, I know that after 2 hours of streaming, first I will be hungry because I'm always hungry after streaming. Then I might be a little bit tired for like half an hour, but then I will be like more creative than ever on my week, because it will be like, wow, I spoke with people and it was nice, and oh yeah, okay, let's try to make some new games because I want to keep it. So yeah, at the beginning it was just, oh, maybe people will be interested about it, and now it's more, okay, maybe people will be interested about it, and it's important for me too. So more and more I'm like a little bit selfish about it, but I think I need it, at least maybe more than people need to see me just talking in the morning. So
that's great, though. I mean, it means that it's not only sustainable, it actually, it energizes you. I mean, that's a fantastic thing. And it sounds like if you're going to want to do it even more, then that's a great place to be in something new, right? If it feels like a task or something that's draining you of energy, it's harder to kind of keep it up. And I definitely think you're made for it. You're very, very easy to listen to. I mean, it helps when I don't understand most of what you're saying, but no, but I think it's and when we were talking also, that I don't know, what do you think of the kind of community, because I guess there's not a lot of overlap obviously between the English speaking and the French speaking communities necessarily on Twitch. Or maybe there is more than I know, but I know on the English speaking side, there's actually, the community is amazingly, overwhelmingly positive, or that's been my experience, and you get a lot of positivity and energy from the viewers. I mean, have you found the same sort of thing in the kind of French community?
Yeah, exactly. And it's also one thing that surprised me in a way is, I don't know if you can feel it on the English community, but on the French community, we have more and more of new players, people who are like a little bit younger, a little bit more diverse, a lot more of women, and a lot of more of people from different ways, which are like now discovering the beautiful world of board gaming. And I think most, not all, but most of people that are looking to my streams are like these neo players who are playing for maybe 2 or 4 years, thinking like that, something like that, and most of them are like still on this amaze phase from the board games, when everything is great and you play a new board game and you're like, wow, this game is good, let's buy another one, I want to try more and more games. And sometimes it's, in a way, it changed me from like the typical board games community who can be sometimes a little bit bored about board games and being like, yeah, it's great, but it's another drafting games. Do we need another one? No. Okay, next. And all these people, they are bringing a lot more of freshness to the market and to all the communication about board games. And they are way nicer about people having different opinions. Also, I don't want to say that older players are not nice, but sometimes they can be a little bit snob in a way. Like, oh, you are playing these small games. We just talk about real board games. I don't know if you have this like kind of problem in the English community, but in French at some points it was like, either you are playing expert board games with game lengths of 2 to 3 hours and with rule books of 25 pages, or you're not a real gamer in a way. And that was truly something bothering me. And when I start streaming, I was like, okay, I hope that this kind of people will not come to my stream, because I'm designing smaller games and I'm more into like saying silly stuff and making some jokes. It was not like, it's not a very serious stream. But most people that are my viewers, they are like so kind, so interested about everything, so amazed about some board games. And so, yeah, I don't know how to truly saying it, but like, in a way, they are like, yeah, amazed. I think it's a great word. It's like they are still curious and still happy about being here, and that makes the whole community like in a very, very good shape. So, yeah.
I don't know the positive way. I just say like, yeah, you think sometimes the elder crowd can be a bit jaded or a little bit cynical about things, and the newer crowd could be a bit more enthusiastic. Yeah, I mean, I think in the English, I think I'm not as necessarily plugged in with the kind of community as I think you are with the French community. I think you've kind of been at the heart of it a bit more in terms of, being at publishers and conventions, and I've kind of moved around a lot in my life and I haven't kind of got that same thing. But yeah, they're definitely, I think there are certain folks, I'm sure, who unfortunately do have an opinion about these lighter games. And actually, I mean, Board Game Geek's a little bit like that in a way. Like, if you look at the biggest English speaking site, it is still kind of skewed towards a particular style of game. Not that the other games don't get a look in, but it's not kind of representative of all people, all English speaking people who are playing games. So it's nice that, it sounds like you've been able to access that part of the community in your streams, which is different maybe from other parts of the community.
Yeah, which is also, I don't want to seem judgmental about like every games, because I like them too and I play a lot of them too, but all the board game industry and all the hobby is not like all about these games. And even if I can enjoy a good Vito Lacerda games, I can also play like a small silly 10 minutes games, and one is not worth more than the other in a way. So yeah, trying to be like inclusive for all type of gamers, but also all type of games, which is important for me.
Yeah. No, I mean, it sounds really great, and it's nice that people have been able to find a part. And I think on the designing side, I was always really impressed every time I would go to Cannes. So Cannes is the biggest game. It's like the Essen of France, I guess. And I was always surprised they have the off, this prototype kind of playtesting festival that starts at like 10 p.m. I think, and normally goes until whenever anybody stays up till like 4 a.m. or whatever. And they fill a huge ballroom every night. I think it's still the biggest playtesting event I've ever seen in my life. It's bigger than anything I saw in, I've been to Gen Con a few times, and then anything like that there. UK Games Expo, we have a playtest zone, but it's not the same size. So do you think also that in the French community, there's kind of a bit more of there's just more like kind of amateur designers and people? Do you think or somehow they know how to find the information better, or they're better connected, or do you think that's how?
No, I think for sure we have more and more game designers than ever, for sure. And the first lockdown in France, especially, give a lot of people some time to think about what they want to do, and a lot of them was like, "Oh, I need to start a prototype and show it to publisher." So talking with some French publisher, they receive a lot of new prototypes from new game designers this year. So yeah, it's definitely the sense of all this community growing from new and fresher people, not fresher but fresh people, is also true for game designing. And more I can see people that I don't know, which is can I don't want to feel like I know everyone on the community, but French is a small country, so basically we all game designers, we almost all know each other at some point. And more I'm like, oh, let's see this game. Who designed it? Okay, I don't know this guy or this girl. Who is he or who she is? And more we have newcomers to the market, which is, in my point of view, a very, very great thing, because we, at the end, I'm a game designer, but I'm also a player. So I want more game designers to have more great games to enjoy. So I'm okay with it, like 100%. Just do the best games that you can, and I will be more than happy to play them at the end.
Oh, that's the right attitude to have. I mean, Alex is saying as well that really trying to make sure in games clubs that when you want to welcome new people to the hobby, really having to make sure that there are so many games that are great for bringing people to the hobby, and it's important to think about that. Amari's right with you, Theo, and we'll have to have a joint stream sometime, across the world, American versus because obviously Amari has a bit more experience on the American side. I don't know that as well. In fact, you probably have even more experience in the American gaming, when you're working with Yellow and Repos and things like that than I do. So, but and do you in terms of your actual game designing and streaming, do you feel like you're talking about how it kind of gives you energy? Do you think you've seen the results in terms of the project you've been working on now since you started streaming, or how do you think that's going to change your creative process?
I'm not sure, mostly because at the end is still like spending 6 hours a week just being on stream, which is kind of like having a bad impact of my work time on board games. So if I have to be like perfectly honest with it, I'm not sure if that's a great thing for this point of view. But it helped me to being a little bit more organized about some stuff, because I'm like, oh, if I'm talking about this game or this project on stream, people are gonna ask me again about, oh, how are you doing with this game? And if I haven't done anything for like the past months, I would be like, oh, sorry, I haven't done anything for the past months, which can be a shame. So even if I'm trying to not show a lot of prototype, if I'm not feeling comfortable with them yet, when I show them, I know for sure that people are gonna ask, so I need to be like deeply focused on them. And looking to my pile of prototype just over there, and saying that I'm starting to feel a little bit guilty about at least one of them. But yeah,
if that's our co-design, Theo, I hope you're feeling guilty about the one you haven't worked on with me.
Yeah, it's a strange thing, but I think co-designing and designing stuff is also a matter of guilt in a way, because it's always not guilt in a bad way, but sometimes like, in a way, it's like, okay, I'm engaged to do something, so no, I have to do it. If I'm working on my own, sometimes I'm engaged to do something, and I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. I try to do next week, and then I'm not doing it like ever. But when I'm doing something with a co-designer, or if I've told my viewers that I'm gonna do it for next week, it's like, yeah, I don't want to do it right now, whatever, I cannot say that I have to do it right now, because otherwise I'm going to be screwed. So yeah, it's a matter of that, and also a matter of like trying to impress my co-designers. Impress is not the best term, but something like, oh, we are working together. You are trusting me on doing something. I want to do it like the best as I can, so you and I will both be happy in a way. And if I'm doing it like quickly and not in a very good way, I'm always like, oh, my co-designer is gonna be so sad about it. So I need to be like the best as I can, just to be, hey, I've done something. Take a look at it. It's great. I've done it because I love you. And that's truly a matter of like trying to be as impressive as possible and not feeling too guilty about like not being good with deadlines every time.
Yeah,
I don't know how you feel about co-designing.
Yeah, I mean, instead of guilt, I think we'd say like accountability. I think that you're being made accountable to by your audience, and that's a great thing. Like that, I think that's really, and I completely agree about the problem. Yeah, probably the reason I've finished so many more co-designs, not only because the co-designer obviously helps you finish a project because they do a lot of work as well, but just always having someone else that is expecting something from you helps you kind of hit those deadlines and say, oh yeah, I'm going to do the next iteration. I am going to do that thing. I can't just leave it. And yeah, that's also when you are studying with a new designer, impressing is what, you just want to build that relationship. I mean, especially if it's someone you haven't worked with before. It's not just about games, right? You're sort of starting a new professional relationship, and it's almost of trust. Like, can they trust you to, not screw up their time or their investment in this project, and that you're kind of worthy of their kind of creative energy and time and all these sort of things. I think I don't know. I feel right now a bit. I don't know how many people you're collaborating with at the moment. I mean, I'm collaborating with quite a few, and I have to admit right now, because there's this strange like disparity in kind of like social connection, that I'm finding it a bit strange that you have all these kind of working relationships that are happening remotely, but it's just it feels like a lot to handle right now when you don't have the kind of other part of your life, which is normally like in person and sociable, that kind of balances out these kind of Skype conversations and when you have a few Skype conversations, but that's in the context of a normal week or a normal day, that's one thing. But when you're on 10 Skype calls, each day or something, it just changes the nature of how you feel about those relationships. So I think I'm kind of adapting, I guess, or trying my best. I think everyone's being very understanding. I'm trying to be understanding as well with my co-designers, including you, Theo, for not doing things. But yeah, I think it's still definitely a net positive. I think I just have to learn to sometimes say no, or to just be. But it's hard to say no, right? Because I mean, and it's the reason we work together. I don't think we started working together necessarily because it was sort of a professional, like kind of a transactional kind of thing that we're like, oh, your skills plus my skills will make this product, and then it makes sense. It was no, we like hanging out, we like designing games, so it's a natural thing to want to hang out and do time, make games together. And I think for a lot of co-designers, it's like that. I just want to just hang out and designing games is a nice way to do it. I don't know if that's your kind of experience there.
Yeah, a lot. I think I've never. I'm trying to perfectly remember all my game experiences, but I think I never start co-designing with someone that I don't know at least a little, and with who I don't have like at least a feeling of, oh, okay, the connection is gonna be great, and I think it's gonna be a good time. Because at the end you are sharing so much with this person that if you don't truly like each other, like a little bit like friends, it's gonna be awful. Just like when you're signing a game with a publisher, you're gonna meet and talk with these people for like 2 years in a row. Sometimes you're gonna meet like each week, or when you are on a very close at the very end of the game, you're gonna like. I remember working on the loop with Catch Up, and I think for the last 3 weeks of development, we were like calling each other like each morning, something like that. So if you don't like the people you are working with, it's gonna be like, not possible. So it's always a matter of like being sure, like, of course I'm not like close friend with all my co-designers, because sometimes we don't know each other that well, but most of the time I at least need to be like perfectly comfortable and being like, oh sure, I'm gonna have a meeting with Matthew, it's gonna be great, and not, oh no, I've had a meeting with Matthew, what I'm gonna say, no, I don't want to do it. If something like it's sometimes, and hopefully it haven't happened to me yet, if sometimes my co-design relationship will look like that, I think I would just like being perfectly honest and just stop it, because at the end we are designing games, so it needs to be fun. Otherwise, what's the point of everything? If it's not a fun time.
Well, yeah, I mean, you say that, but I guess maybe it leads into maybe chatting about Kodama a bit, because I mean, yes, it is for fun, but we're both in almost similar situations where we're trying to do this. Well, you're completely full time on games. I'm part time, but you do. This is your livelihood, and I guess Kaidama in some ways set up. It's like a formalized co-designing relationship of a sort. I mean, how does that relationship working in that context compare to co-designing? How have you found that kind of process?
Sometimes it's not that fun. First thing, I think it's Kaidama is my wild card of doing not that fun things again. But because Antoine, Ludo, and Corentin, we all four of us know each other pretty well. We spend a lot of times together. We even went on holidays together, so we are truly close friends. That's one thing that makes Kaidama's working. And again, I think it was also a company start being like, oh, we are four friends and we know each other. Well, let's start something together, and not at all like something like think and being like, okay, Antoine, you can bring a little bit of fame to the team. Ludo, you can make lasagna on the weekend. Corentin, you're always happy, so you're gonna bring some joy to the team. Théo will be a little bit more picky about deadlines, so maybe you're gonna be like the one saying, do you know that we have to do that for next week? Yes. No, it was not something like that. It was more like, hey, let's have fun all together and let's start something. And everything starts just like that. But at the end, because we are doing like sometimes more professional task, or at least task with deadlines for like companies which are not board games companies, sometimes it's not that fun anymore. But more and more, even for Kaidama, that our point of view was to do a lot of projects and to being like, oh, this project seems fun, and that was almost it, and we're gonna get paid enough for the amount of time we're gonna spend on it. And it was like, okay, let's go. And more we're like, okay, the client seems fun, the project seems fun. Do you want to do it? Yes. Yes. Okay, let's try to do it because it's 3 yes and 1. But more and more we know that if we're not like deeply involved and deeply happy about something, it will not work as we want it to work. So more and more we are more picky about the projects that we are doing because of that.
And what about, is there a particular like style of project that you found works best in that kind of environment? Like what are kind of the characteristics of that?
I think the things that we like doing the most is our like consulting times, which is most, of course, 2020 wasn't great for that, but most of the time it's like a publisher coming to La Cafetière, which is the workshop that Antoine started in Valence. And then it's like, sometimes playing prototypes and just giving some feedbacks about how do you feel it about in the market, or how do you think it will compare to other games, and giving some small inputs about developing a games. Or sometimes it's like taking a full prototypes and just like breaking it on pieces and trying to quietly and carefully rebuild something out of the broken pieces that we just shattered. And I think that's the part of the job that I like the most and that we like the most. Maybe because it's not like a big amount of time investing prior to this meeting, but also because, and at the end there is no secret, is because it's like all four of us with someone else on the same room having fun and trying to do our best. So the vibes is like very good. Sometimes very often we're like laughing a lot, having a lot of fun. but also being like as professional as possible and bringing some fresh and I hope some good ideas to a prototype. So it might be the things that I like doing the most.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And does it? I mean, has it kind of, you said 2020 wasn't that great. Is there signs that it's kind of going to improve, or is it really still everything's a bit on hold? Or
yeah, right now, because it's something that we truly want to do in house. Like we sometimes done it like a publisher sending us a prototype, we play it, we discuss a lot, then we just wrote a paper about what was good, what was not, blah blah blah. But it wasn't that fun. So most of the time, if a publisher asks us right now, we'll be like, coronavirus, so we cannot meet properly. So let's try to wait for the situation to be better. So yeah, as soon as the situation will be better, maybe it's something that we're gonna start doing it a little bit more. But yeah, definitely 2021 will not be a good year for this kind of service too.
And I mean, after so like Draftosaurus, I saw you tweeted out recently. It's just passed 100,000 copies. Congratulations! That's amazing.
Ooh, thank you.
In not much longer than a year and a half or something, or not
2 years.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, still pretty amazing. I mean, that was obviously a co-design between the four of you of Kaidama. Is that, or are you going to keep designing new games? Do you think, or do you think you're sort of full up with consulting, or you like a mix?
Yeah. It has been and it will always be a mix. I think more and more. I think we'll be more into Draftosaurus was a games on demand in a way, because it was Ankama telling us, oh, we know how to make this nice wooden dino. Maybe do you want to make a game with them? We're like, it seems like a challenge. I think we're gonna try to do it. And so we done Draftosaurus mostly because of that. That's why it's a K-Dama game in a way. But definitely we're better, I think, with small amount of different ideas to put into a game, or stuff that truly I'm gonna sound very Marie Kondo right now, but bring us some joys. Like when people are approaching us with some license, with some IPs, and they ask us to do a game about it, we truly need to know and to be big fan of this IP in order to make a game. Otherwise, we're not gonna be the best for doing it. So yeah, definitely more things like Draftosaurus coming, but if we are doing so, we need to be like truly excited about the project.
Yeah. I mean, that maybe we could sort of slightly transition into sort of just like your kind of day to day as a designer, because obviously you're also mixing your time as part of Kaidama and part as an independent designer. I mean, I guess there's probably a lot of people in chat, and maybe you obviously talk about it on your stream as well. But I mean, what is your just like day to day like? I mean, for those who are sort of interested in the life of Théo Riviere, famous streamer and board game designer.
I try to have like a healthy morning routine, which is more and more healthy, long morning routine. So I try to wake up not that early, but not that like between 7 and 8 most of the time.
It's pretty respectable, I think.
Yeah, most of the time, so, but never more than 9. Otherwise, my morning will be like not that good. And then I'm trying to do 3 things each day. Actually, 4 things, but one not on the morning, which is each day I try to play a game. Not especially a prototype, not especially a new game, but just to be sure to have like my healthy dose of playing a board game at some point. Most of the time it's more than one game a day, because Elodie, my girlfriend, is like truly into board games too, so it's great to share a game together, a game or a lot of games. And I also try to do 3 things which are important for me, truly in a creative point of view, which is I try to write something. Could be a comics, could be a novel, could be not a lot of science stuff, but trying to spend at least between 15 and 1 hour just just reading something to clear my mind in a way, and to try to stay curious about stuff, and to bring some creativity to me. I also meditate each morning for between 10 and 20 minutes, just quietly sitting and trying not to think a lot about a lot of stuff, but also trying to, I don't know how to perfectly describe that, but to focus my mind on a typical matter. Like if I'm working on a game and I'm like, oh, I need to find a new way of like scoring points because the way right now is not good. I can start a meditation session and being like, okay, first relax, and now let's try to focus only on how can I change this scoring thing. And it's something that I start like a little bit out of nothing, because it was like, oh, let's try meditation because everyone is saying that it's nice, so maybe it's gonna be good for me too. And know that's really something that I cannot stop doing. And I also, but still not perfectly comfortable with it, trying to spend at least 20 minutes doing sport. But mostly because it's also a way of like freeing my mind and think about game design and stuff, and also to stay healthy, but still not something that I will be like, yeah, no, I cannot stop doing sport every day because it's truly important for me. If I'm not doing it, I feel bad. It's more like, okay, people are telling me that I need to do sport a little bit in order to stay alive a little bit longer. So I'm gonna doing it because I'm listening to you people. But please be true, because truly it's not the best 20 to half an hour time spent for me during the day.
As Maria Kondo says, it doesn't necessarily bring you joy yet.
not yet. But that's my like morning routine in a way. Hey, San. Sorry.
Hey, San. No. Thanks for dropping by. San, thank you for dropping by. Oh wow, we got a subscription, Henry. Sorry, I missed this. I think it actually may be my first ever subscription. Thank you very much, Henry. And wow, Henry Audubon, amazing designer. I'm not sure. Do you know Henry? He's the designer of Parks, the Keymaster game Parks. I'm sure you'll recognize it. Has done some other stuff with Keymaster.
Oh yeah, Parks. Sorry, it's my turn being like a French guy and not nicely saying it. It's like, oh, you mean Parks? Ah, okay, Parks. Yeah, wonderful game. I played only once, but I was truly amazed about it. It was quite a big thing when it comes to the French market, because people were like, whoa, this game is looking so nice. And some people were like, okay, it looks way too nice to be a good game. And then I was like, okay, I need to play it because the game was truly like buzzing in France. And I played and I was like, it was a nice surprise for me too, because I truly think that the game is very, very nice. And the coconut aspect of the game is like perfect in a way. So yeah, congrats.
Yeah,
I didn't know your name.
I really enjoyed it as well. Actually, Henry's been, you should check him out on Twitter, because he was for a while, I'll drop the link in the chat, was doing some really great tweets about sort of game design, like thoughts and some really cool like notes about mechanisms and things like this. I'll put it in the chat. Everyone should give Henry a follow. And yeah, thank you so much for the subscription. It's like I don't really know what to do with it. I tell everybody to feel free to support other streamers or things. I'm of course very very happy for any support, but it's just that's very nice. I'm what can I say? I'll have to have you on more often, Theo. You're the good luck charm, obviously.
I'm always like saying thank you for your subscription. Keep in mind that I will stay on Twitch whatever, even if you don't give me some money, because it's not a career for me. It's not like at some point I will not drop game designing to be full-time on Twitch. But thank you anyway. I know what I will do with this money, and I'm trying to like invest it back on stream. Like I'm running some small contests, sometimes sending some goodies to people. So yeah, it's always a matter of thank you for your money and your support in a way. Feel free to not support me if you don't have any money, and please please don't put you in trouble by supporting me. I don't need it and you don't need it, so it's okay for not supporting my channel. But if you want to do it, I will be proud and happy about it. So that's my main motto about it.
Yeah, I think I'm about the same. And yeah, Henry says about meditation and game design go well together. Actually, I think you were the one who started me. I don't unfortunately meditate anymore, but it was when I visited you that you also got me into meditation. I did stay with it for some months after staying with you, but yeah, it's a pity actually. I suspect in lockdown it would have been a good thing. Maybe I'll restart it or something. I should. Are you still using
tomorrow
Calm?
Morning? Yeah, still using Calm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe I will. Yeah. Maybe this can be my own accountability. I'll say that I'm gonna try and meditate once a day. For the next week or something like that. But yeah, I think it is true. Like I think the thing for me actually that made it go away was I lost all schedule. It used to fit in my working life, and I would do it before I'd go to work. And now that I just roll out of bed and go to my desk, you don't have the same thing. But actually, creating that space and creating that time and creating that schedule for yourself is quite important, I think.
Meditation is not exactly like that, but more and more people don't get bored at all. It's like when you are waiting on a line, you watch your smartphone, and when you are like taking a shower, you listen to some podcast, and when you are like on a toilet, you are watching a video on YouTube. And I'm a big advocate of getting bored more and more, because that's exactly at this point that you have your biggest epiphany about like game designing or stuff. And so I'm trying to not to listen to songs that I can sing while taking a shower. I'm trying, but that's not that easy, to not bring my phone to the toilet and to not to look at my screen when I'm waiting in line, just in order to go on this special mindset about, whoa, I need to think about something because I'm crazy bored right now. Oh, what about this game? Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, maybe. And yeah, people get bored. That's a good way of making some games. And
yeah,
thank you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you so much. I can't remember. It's funny we say don't listen to a podcast, but there definitely was a podcast I listened to about the kind of value of being bored, and exactly saying this, that we don't have these. We used to have all these little spaces in our lives that mostly mobile phones have kind of taken up. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. And yeah, I also have. The pandemic has put me back into bad habits, I think, probably. So it's something I need to consciously reintroduce into my life. But yeah, no, it's certainly a lot to think about. And I guess apart from that kind of those schedules and things you make sure you do, what do you think, since you've gone full time, because it's been about 4 years now, something like that, what do you think is the sort of the most important thing you've got better at as sort of designing by yourself or kind of working outside of the schedule?
I think my main struggle was, and it still is, but I'm getting better and better at that, is like just like we said, not saying yes to every project and trying to be more clear about, oh yes, I will be glad to start to work with you, but maybe not this week. And trying to be more comfortable about like, okay, this publisher is sending me an email asking me to do something. Maybe I can do it like tomorrow, maybe 2 days after receiving this email is still okay. And not being just like, in French we say a girouette. I don't know the word in English. It's like the thing on the top of an house telling you in which way the wind is blowing.
Yeah, a weather vane. We call it a weather vane. So you feel like you're always turned, like when somebody talks to you.
Yeah, it's like, oh, an input on my Facebook Messenger, I have to, something on Skype, I have to, and that's something that I'm truly still struggling about, but trying to be more into like giving each project is amount of space and being like, okay, today I'm gonna work for 1 hour on this thing, and then on this thing, and then on this thing, and then I will spend 1 hour just going on social media, answering some email and stuff like that. And it's a pity in a way, because I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm freelancing, I'm working from home, I can do whatever I want, and not everything that I need is to be like more in a small boxes way of working and being like, okay, I need to schedule each of my hours. But now that I'm doing that, I think I'm more efficient, even if I start playing Magic Arena again, and it was a huge mistake. But yeah, trying to be more into like shaping my day to be sure that I'm doing everything that I need to do. But I'm still not perfect for this kind of stuff.
And I don't think you can be. I think if you. Oh yeah, no worries. I'm assuming you can hear me. No, I was just going to say. Oh yeah. You can't be completely perfect, because if you're completely perfect, you're not going to be creative. You know, you can't just manufacture creativity. You can't sit down and say, in this 1 hour period, I'm going to exactly come up with a new idea. So yeah, it's kind of like you need some structure, but it can't be the whole thing, I guess. It's a tricky thing to balance.
It's also something that I've been struggling for a long period of time. But now I know that my creativity can be a little bit like a roller coaster. And at some point of my life, I was like perfectly enjoying this time when I'm like, whoa, I've started 2 games this morning and I update all my prototypes and I have signed 10 emails and now I'm starting a new Twitch channel and I'm doing that. And new idea. Let's start a prototype. And sometimes I can be like that, and these days are like amazing and I have to enjoy them. But sometimes I'm like, yeah, I don't have any ideas. Yeah, I need to answer this email. Yeah, I don't want to. Okay, maybe I'm going to play Magic a little bit. 3 hours later, oh yeah, I truly need to answer this email. Yeah, I still don't want to. Okay, let's try to do something else. And for a long amount of time, I was like, what is wrong with me? How can I be creative all times and being like doing a lot of works each days? And now I know that how most of the creative people are working, and that I cannot be Bruno Catala all days, and that I have to accept that sometimes it will be like the end of my roller coaster stuff, and then okay, that's some days that I can take off and just go for a walk or just read a little bit more or do something else, and not like forcing myself to be creative or do my accountability, which is a perfect task to do for this kind of day.
Yeah, no, it's I think it's a constant. It's something I'm really interested in, and I'm also trying to transition to, because I used to get all this creativity from working at a job, and you'd kind of naturally have thoughts while you're kind of busy with something else, and now I don't have that necessarily. But Jay has a really interesting question. Well, just a question about: is there a good way to follow the French board game scene if you don't speak French?
No, I'm not sure. It's one problem with French people that most of us, and keep in mind that even if I'm perfectly happy speaking with all of you like today, it's still a struggle for me to be like, oh, my English is not that good, my accent is bad. How can I be like not like I don't want to seem silly to people because my English is not perfect. And that's a typical French thing, because our education system is like perfectly broken from this point of view. But it's like very hard for French people to speak in English. So most of the time we not do it like conscientiously. It's truly we have to be a little bit forced in order to be like, okay, I'm comfortable with it. And once again, Matthew, that's not like I'm comfortable talking with you, and I'm happy that you invite me.
It's like blink twice if you're uncomfortable, Theo. Like it's like cut it.
That's truly something that I'm also trying to be like more comfortable with it, because it's like you understand me. Most of the people seems to understand me when I'm talking, so I think it's enough for me to feel comfortable speaking English. But most of the time we're truly into like we're French, we're speaking French for the French market, and sometimes it's a little bit of like closed in a way. So I'm not sure that there are a lot of like resources right now to see the French market. But most of the time, Board Game Geek is doing a good job, like speaking about most of the game like that happen in French. Even if I was surprised that we don't have like a news this year for the French Asdor. I think it was the first time.
There was news. It was
okay.
I think.
Okay, I haven't saw it this year. I was like, oh, okay, strange. But typically, Board Game Geek's crew are coming to Cannes like each year to follow the fair. So yeah, Board Game Geek might be enough to follow all the board game scene from around the world, French including. But yeah, I cannot see another great resources right now.
I mean, as someone who's not a Frank fan, I mean, firstly, I should say, like, yeah, well, thank you for coming on and speaking English. I think it's well, I mean, and of course, being the typical native English speakers, we just assume that everyone's going to speak English with us. So, I would put it around the other way, and like I'm the lucky one that you can speak in my language rather than you have to feel uncomfortable at all. It would be a very, very short and very focused conversation if we were speaking in French. And I am sure that nobody in chat would understand me. So no, I think to definitely say that. And I think also for me, I mean, because I'm in that situation, I go to Cannes. I can't really speak French. We always joke that Cannes is the international, like festival international, and you just have to find the one other international person and speak to them or something. But I think actually these days following a lot of the publishers or things on Twitter or Facebook, because if it's in Google or something, it'll do auto translate. If you want to just catch up with what's going on with games, I find that's usually a pretty good way to. I just saw it today, and you. I don't know if you know about. There's another new narrative game that I hadn't heard of at all called that Studio H is putting out. That was a Gigamic game as well. It's called. Oh gosh, now I'm gonna have to find it in my.
Is it Suspect?
Yeah, maybe. Because I was intrigued by it, I must say. I'm now trying to look back in my old windows. Yeah, that's it. I hadn't heard about this at all, and it just sort of, appeared. Did it just come out today or something? Or
no, that's like, even if it's like amazingly well produced, that's still a demo scenario that they are releasing prior to the game for free. That's a game from Guillaume Montiage, which is a great French game designer, mostly known for his big game published by Matago, which are Kemet, including Kemet. But I know him pretty well because he used to be in a way famous for the Murder Party. You don't say Murder Party in English. Murder Mystery Night.
Yeah, I'm now trying to think about what we call it. Yeah, like murder mystery, like dinner murder. Oh gosh, I think we all know what you have a dinner and there's a murder mystery and yeah.
In French, we use an English word that we just say in French, which is murder party, because we know French. And Guillaume is famous for having wrote very, very nice one. I think he's a very, very good writer. And so it's like, if I have to sum up, not being on their commercial team, it's like Unlock meet Sherlock Holmes Detective Conseil. So Sherlock Holmes. So the main thing is it's going to be a box with three different scenarios, and mostly with cards. And then it's like a Sherlock games in a way. You have to solve a mystery. I haven't played it yet, but I must confess that I'm quite excited about it, because we have a lot of them. We have a lot of mystery games being released right now in the French market, but also in worldwide market. But I know for sure that Guillaume Montiage is a good writer, so I'm okay, looking forward to play it. But as you can see with this beautiful plastic wrap on my cards, I haven't played it yet. But yeah, looking forward to it, truly.
That sounds really cool. But yeah, I completely agree with you that I think actually ultimately it's not so important to have mechanistic differences in these games, because a lot of the times the mechanics are broadly similar, or they don't have to be too innovative. But yeah, it's actually the quality of the writing that really stands out, and that's why I work with Dave Neal, for example, a lot. Who did the latest Sherlock Holmes box, for example, and it's on a lot. Because he's an amazing writer as well. And I just follow him. I just get him to do all the writing, and just take half the royalties. That's how I like to work. Yeah, but it's definitely important, and you definitely notice the kind of the ones that aren't so well, or that don't have that kind of good narrative structure and writing. No worries, Rob. Thank you so much for dropping by, and I actually think we're kind of coming up broadly. So I mean, we'll probably wrap up in, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes or something like that. So if people have more questions, please drop in the chat. Otherwise, I'm sure I'm going to have Théo on another time, or maybe I'll go on to maybe I'll speak French on Théo's stream sometime.
Yeah, whenever you want.
Jay asks, is the trend of French are the trends of the French market different from the English US? Sounds like mystery is a big thing. Do you think there's a big difference between the kind of the French and English speaking markets?
I think so. I think the main thing is we have like game trending, especially for the French market, because of French publishers that we know. And I was talking with Christian Lemay, which is the owner of, was the owner, no, he's Asmodee, but he's Hachette, actually. He used to be the owner of Scorpion Masqué, and he's an amazing publisher. And we were talking about how a game being released on this like domestic market is almost always more a big thing that like not on the domestic market. So we definitely have game trending mostly on the French market and sometimes not that much like outside of French. And I saw some games like being like a lot into like top videos from the US and stuff like that we don't have on the French market and sometimes we never have. Of course, some publishers succeed being like trendy on all markets. I can think of like Stone games. When a game from Stone is released in the US, I think that's a big thing, but that's also a big thing in French. But to have like an example, I'm not sure like Bombix is a big thing in the US, but in French, when Bombix is releasing a new game, we're all like, okay, let's see what Bombix brings us to the market this time. But concerning like mechanism or game genre in trending, I'm not sure that there are that much difference, because at the end all games try to be like going from the French market to the US market and vice versa. And so at the end we take a look to all markets at all times. So
I mean, from an outsider kind of looking in, and again, the experience with Khan, it feels like they're. I mean, I'm not American, so I shouldn't necessarily speak for the US market, but it seems like there is this maybe longer tradition of smaller publishers in France than there necessarily has been in the US that like kind of existed like pre-Kickstarter, for example. Like Kickstarter has made a lot of smaller companies possible to kind of publish games, but it feels like in France, like actually a lot of the companies we now know as these bigger companies, started as these small companies, and when you go to Cannes, actually you see a lot of publishers that you just never will hear of outside of France. They'll release some games domestically, some small games. Sometimes they escape that, and they kind of escape that world, and then you get to know about them. Someone like people like the Flying Games, for example, with Jurassic Snack or Catch Up, for example, as well. These really small publishers. I feel like there's a really thriving scene of that kind of indie publisher, and not just now, but has been there's a tradition of that. And maybe you get it feels like you get just a wider range of games from that in a way, like because there's just more. There's more of that sake of like taking a chance of things. I don't know if like Gen Con, I guess, has always been such a huge thing, and it's also amongst a backdrop of like a kind of wider set of games. I don't know. That's just my random musings.
I think that's also because on like an international point of view, most of the French smallish publisher from France are like having a deal with Asmodee. And so at the end, I remember perfectly going to the Gen Con and being like, people saying, "Oh, did you see the new release by Asmodee?" And I was like, Asmodee are not releasing games. They are like distributing them. "Oh yeah, it's called Mysterium." And I was like, "But it's Libellude, it's not Asmodee." "Oh, and did you play the last expansion for Seven Wonders?" But it's Repos, it's not Asmodee. And at the end, we are maybe more focused into small structure and being like, because we know them at the end, being more into, okay, that's the publisher, than people from like all over the world being more like that the game, and they are not that focused about the publisher.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess it's just normal anyway. When if you're in that market and especially in the industry, you sort of know those personalities and as you said, it works the other way as well. You have really big games in the US that don't, for whatever reason, don't come into France, and you wouldn't necessarily know those companies or things like that. So it can work the other way.
Which is bad. We want all the good games from the US in French market. So,
but it's complicated. I mean, and I think both ways. I know, speaking with some French publishers who. And that was sometimes a decision with me trying to decide going with publishers. For me, it was always really important that my games are released in English, obviously. And sometimes it's really tough, sometimes to get that, to be able to do that, to be distributed in the US. And I know also it can, the other way, it also can be difficult, that kind of the economies of that. So yeah, maybe, who knows, maybe Asmodee will just, eventually just buy everything and unite the world, and, we'll be able to get our games everywhere. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I think that might slowly wrap this up. But thank you so much, Theo, for coming on. Really, well, I mean, it's just always fun to chat, and it's just that if we schedule a stream, then it makes sure that we talk to each other, so we can be accountable in that way.
We can do something. It's like we can schedule all our work meeting to be on Twitch. And then we'll be forced to be like, yeah, have you thought about this game? Yeah, sure, because, we had a deadline. It was a streaming, so.
And all those people are like looking in our window, like.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's going to be very interesting for everyone.
No, they'll just hear us complain about publishers. Usually, that seems to be where we're.
But I haven't got the opportunity to passing by. But have you tried to design something live, like on Twitch yet?
I have, I've done kind of a game jam once. It was actually Alex Aquasource's. I did a kind of like a roll and write that was sort of soloable, and I made something on the stream, and then for a few streams after I revisited it and did a few iterations. Hasn't really gone anywhere. Have you designed something on stream?
I've tried once. And being like, let's try to talk all with each other. Do you want to the game to be cooperative or competitive? Okay, let's try. Oh, how many players do we want? And stuff like that. But at the end, I was truly struggling with the fact that most of the time when I'm game designing something, I mostly like. And that's not.
That should just be the stream. It should just
I'm not sure that's
like,
very fun to watch. It's like I love to watch some artists like drawing on stream, and it's very enjoyable. But most of the time, when you are game designing, you are just like doing nothing. So yeah, I'm kind of struggling with this aspect.
Yeah, I don't know if I did it once, and I think for certain things, but yeah, I'm also the same. I think it's also that kind of, not the pressure, but you're balancing kind of entertaining, presenting with this very kind of cerebral kind of activity of designing, and those two parts of my brain are not the same parts. So, you'll start trying to like answer questions like, where was I with the design and things like that. But yeah, so I think it's interesting to see where things can go.
And then you're like, stop talking. I need to think. Please wait 1 minute. I'm gonna have to think a little bit. And you cannot do that. But yeah, I would definitely try again to do something on stream. But it's kind of hard to show this part of the job.
Definitely, yeah. I think that's something that going forward, I don't know how I will go with it either. And well, if you come on with, because I think we're hoping to have another edition of the stream where we tried to get a lot of board game designers together who stream and chat about, and I'm sure that'll be great to chat more about what we think is possible and what would be interesting to do. Aurélien has be interesting with a first and strong global idea, looking the details for the big directions. Yeah, I think that's how it worked well for me. Like also because we made it like it was a roll and ride, and it's sort of like once you make a few assumptions about genre and things like that, it constricts you enough that and I think I was always pushing it. Like I thought I was kind of telling chat what I was thinking about, but I wasn't necessarily like, if chat had an interesting idea, I would try and incorporate it. But if it didn't kind of resonate, then I would just kind of say, actually, I think I want to go in that direction. Because ultimately, you have to kind of push it yourself. Like if you've got it, you can't design by committee, right? I think it's unfortunately, or it's much more difficult to do so. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. Well, but thank you so much, and everyone, give Theo a follow if you haven't already followed him. I am trying to bring it up now because I had copied it before. So it's Theo _Saka. Where did that actually come from? That username?
That's the name of Ash Ketchum in the French version of Pokemon. Okay. Sacha du Pourpalette. And because I used to be like, no, I'm still, so not use. Because I am a big fan of Pokemon, I was like, okay, I need a pseudo. And long story short, at the end I was like, oh, let's try to use Sacha because it reminds me of Pokemon. So not a big story.
Okay, I actually never knew that. No. Well, it's good. It's good to know. You know, it's.
How do you went with MT Dunstan?
It's my initials, you know, and now everyone thinks I'm not sure if I told you this, but when I go into others, you know, when you raid or something like that, and someone reads your name for the first time, like it's like mountain, so they think it's like Mount Dunstan. But then, of course, the joke is like I'm the English-speaking, you know, Bruno of the Mountains, like Matthew of the Mountains now. So that's
that's perfect. Mountain Dunstan.
It's one of those things. It's one of those things I didn't think about, and now I'm stuck with it, I guess, at this point. But yeah, all those things you did. I never knew that I was going to be streaming, so I never knew I had to care when I registered on Twitch. I probably did it just to like get some free Twitch Prime thing or something sometime. But yeah, and thank you everyone for watching and for sticking around.
Yeah,
and I hope it's been useful. It's been really a lot of fun, and I hope that. Yeah, I hope that Theo will be back sometime, and I hope you know I'll be able to have more kind of guest streams because I think it's just a lot of fun chatting with folk. So yeah, we might go and raid someone. Do you raid people, Theo? Is that something you do?
Yeah. Every time.
Every time. If anyone has a recommendation of maybe any of the visiting French speaking or you, Theo, maybe know someone you can recommend. I can broaden my horizon of people I know.
I can find someone, but it's going to be in French, so I'm not sure that it's going to be great for you.
No, but I look. Let's fix it up. I'm happy to. I'm always interested to try something new.
Most of the time, I'm reading people who are like drawing stuff. So maybe you can go for Sulia, which is. Let me write you his name up. Which is a French up the other way up. A French comic artist who is doing an amazing job and more is like drawing live on Twitch.
Oh wow, okay, cool. Well, I think I'll be able to understand that at least. You know, like it'll be visually wonderful. Oh yeah, okay. Well, let's go and read Sulia. But again, thank you so much, Theo, for everything. And yeah, everyone give Theo a follow. And check out Theo. You stream. You're also Theo Sacha on Twitter. I guess is probably one of the main ways that people can follow you. And you stream on Tuesday and Thursday mornings, 9 o'clock Central European time. That's 8 a.m. GMT. Don't know what it is on US kind of unwatchable probably at that time. I'm guessing it's like 2 a.m. or something. But and yeah, you're streaming on Sunday. This Sunday, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, at 9 p.m. this time for the first time. But yeah, I don't know how it looks. I think most of my game plan right now is to perfectly copy Elizabeth Orgrave's job and trying to bring some fresh game designer, mostly female game designer on the French Wikipedia because we don't have a lot of people we don't have a lot of game designers in French Wikipedia, so I'm like, okay, maybe I can try to bring some new entry with some game designers in French, and mostly being focused on female game designer because that's people we don't speak a lot in the French community. So yeah, maybe I'm gonna try to write my first Wikipedia entry ever. So looking forward.
That's a really good idea. Now I think I want to do the same. I need to check out the English Wikipedia and.
Yeah,
I have a good friend on the science world who was really big in they would lead workshops trying to get more female scientists on Wikipedia, And I know Jess Wade is an amazing person in England who I think every day for a year or even more she wrote a new article. So she's added like 500 women to Wikipedia female scientists, which is incredible. So that's really great. Oh well, I'll definitely tune in for that. I think that would be great.
I can see that you have we have a Matthew Dunstan page on the German Wikipedia, but not in French and in English. So maybe at some point I will try to add you to the French Wikipedia.
Well, then we could do it for each other. I could do the Théo Riviere on the English side. Are you on the French Wikipedia?
I'm on the French with a very, very silly picture that I took on Gen Con, and at some point I was trying to add a picture of myself on my own Wikipedia article, but it wasn't working because people were like, "Do you have the right of your own photo of your own self for your own Wikipedia article?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." At some point I was like, "Okay, screw, I'm gonna put this silly picture of me on a game throne on Gen Con," and it got accepted. So no, I've got this silly picture like forever. But yeah, I'm on the French Wikipedia.
Yeah, I do know it. Yeah, there are some interesting rules about what's allowed and not. It's yeah. Great. Okay, let's go rating. And thanks again, Théo. Have a great weekend. Thank you, everyone, for dropping by. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Play some games or do other things. Hope you're all well and safe. And I myself will be back same time on Monday, 4 p.m. GMT, 5 p.m. CET. And I will be by myself. So apologies for that, but I can't have Théo all the time. Anyway, and thanks again, Théo, and we'll head off. So
thank you, Matt. Thank you, everyone. And see you.
The countdown. Yeah, let's enjoy some comic artists. How's it going? I think
I'm okay for going.
Great. And I think we